Okay, welcome everyone. Good afternoon. Let me see. We have 10 attendees. Okay. Okay, so I guess we can start with no further delay. So welcome to the second webinar for the PULSATE Technology Transfer Open Call. As you know, this webinar is with special guests with the technical focus from MTC. We'll have the introduction later on. And we'll introduce you a little bit in short the main rules for the PULSATE open call. So what criteria you need to fulfill to be eligible. But also, Tian from MTC will tell you a bit more about the technical support and a little bit more about the technology that is required for this project, for this open call. And at the end, I will shortly describe you how we will make the selection process. And of course, at the end, you will be able to ask your questions. So for now, we invite you to write them in the chat. And at the end, Marta, who is with us today, managing the technical side.
Hi there.
Hi, Marta. Will be asking us the questions, so feel free to write them during the webinar in the chat box. So about me, I'm Izabela Zdrazinska. I'm a senior project manager at Funding Box. I'm involved in many European initiatives like PULSATE, also related to industrial application of technology, like in arc welding, in artificial intelligence, or in robotics. And I represent Funding Box, which is one of the biggest deep tech ecosystems where we try to match the companies and SMEs with funding, with the opportunities, with corporates, and with the market. And we are engaged in many projects like PULSATE, now should be around 50. And here we are representing, or we are under a manufacturing category, I would say, which is a part of the I4MS family. Okay, we are also engaged in other with robotics, internet, digital innovation hubs, or AI. But here we are focusing on the manufacturing sector under I4MS. And now about Tian, I pass the voice to you.
All right. Well, thanks. Thank you for the introduction. So good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Tian Longxi, and I'm a senior research engineer at the MTC. So the MTC is part of the consortium for the PULSATE project. And we have been involved in a lot of European projects around laser-based processing, and there is, a couple of projects as listed on the slides there. Next, please. Yeah, so just to give a brief introduction about the MTC. So the MTC is a relatively new, research and technology organization that opens up in 2011. And we are part of the high value manufacturing catapult, and there is actually 7 of us that's dotted around the UK. So the whole ethos of the center was to bridge the value of that. So it's basically to work on technologies on TRL 4 and above, all the way up to 9, where the concentration is more around 4 to 7. So the in addition to working in technologies, the company also provides training as well, which is part of the the activity that we do to bridge the value of that for industrialization of new technologies. Next, please. Yeah, so we at the MTC, we work on various different sectors, which spans across aerospace, automotive, all the way to oil and gas, where predominantly the company focus heavily in aerospace, but in the last few years, we have diversified our sectors, and we were more in other other sectors that we were not commonly in, for example, electronics, energy, food and drink, etc. So at the MTC, we have 3 types of engagement that we do. So we have one-to-one customer projects, we do CR&D, and we also have a membership model platform where companies that are interested can actually join as a member with the MTC. where we offered different levels of membership that comes with different perks and accessibility to the facility at the MTC, and also that helps in engaging better with industry when it comes to working with technologies or working with product improvement. Next, please. So at the MTC, I would say we generally categorize our, innovation or area of research into three main groups. So we have component manufacturing. So in simple terms, is the group that we look at how we make things. So that covers additive manufacturing, non-conventional machining, and high integrity fabrication. Then we have the assembly system, which basically looks at how we put technologies together. So in there we have advanced tooling and fixturing, electronics manufacturing, and robotics and automation system. And last but not least, we have data system, which basically links up all the different components within a system so that they are digitally connected. So within there we have design simulation, manufacturing informatics, and metrology and NDT. Next, please. Yep. Right. So that's about the MTC. So now we go into the main focus of today's webinar, which is the PULSATE project. So the PULSATE project is actually a European Horizon 2020 funded project that is looking to foster pan-European infrastructure to help SMEs to digitally compete in the laser-based advanced and additive manufacturing. So in this particular call, the key I would say focus is to assist SMEs to explore and adopt laser-based advanced and additive manufacturing. Next, please. Yeah. So the reason why the focus of this project is on laser-based advanced and additive manufacturing is because this technology is very versatile and is actually very can be applied to various different sectors such as aerospace, automotive, medical, etc. And it covers anything from processing, machining, cutting, welding, or joining of materials, etc. So there is a lot of potential for this technology, and therefore this project is hoping that the European SME can benefit from the versatility of what this technology has to offer. And also, in addition to that, Europe is also leading in the development and innovation of photonics technologies and processes, and that's why there is an emphasis on pushing this technology into industry more. Hence the project. Next, please. Yep. So in the project, we have 9 partners. So it consists of 6 of them are actually the technology partners, or what we call it as that consists of research and technologies organizations. So we have AMAN, Syntab, CEA, Fraunhofer IWS, FTMC, and MTC. And then the rollout of the events and also the funding open call is supported by Funding Box, and Clasco is a partner that is responsible for designing and building the the digital interface between the consortium and the industry, where EPIC is one of the members that is assisting in the promotion and activities in regards to photonics around Europe for the project. Next, please. So the project aims to deliver actually quite a huge offerings to support SME in the adoption of laser-based processing, as you can see from the diagram there. So we covered everything from technologies, exploration, down selection, feasibility, all the way to training, and also standardization, and also certification of processes in industry, and also business support and finance support, which will be offered through the digital platform that will be designed and implemented in the project. And although the project have a very strong emphasis on SMEs, we also do engage with large company as well, and we also aim to be the bridging point, between linking up SMEs and also large organizations to complete the supply chain when it comes to the adoption of the photonics manufacturing technologies. Next, please.
Okay. Yeah, I think the open calls one goes on me.
Yep.
So continuing what Tian said about the PULSATE project, in order to boost the SMEs and to support them, the open calls will be organized. We plan to launch 4 open calls. We have more than 4 million euro of funding to provide and to support that technologies. And there will be 2 types of the open calls. The first one, which is the technology transfer experiment that is launched now. It's the first open call. There will be a second one next year. It's concentrated on the experiments. It's a longer one, I would say, because the support program will last more than 1 year, 13 months. The funding is higher because it's up to 150,000 per experiment, and we're looking for the consortia. So in order to perform the experiment, you need to have the technology provider together with the adopter or end user, as we call it, to apply. And then we'll have a second type of open calls, shorter ones, when we will select only the adopter SMEs. So we were planning to reach the industry to help the SMEs to create or to estimate the feasibility of adoption of laser-based technology to their model, to their process that they have. So there we will select only SMEs, standalone SMEs, that will get a small funding of 25,000 and the mentoring to check the feasibility, economical or technical, of the implementation of the solution, and it will last only 3 months. So it will be a shorter support program. And all the open calls and the updates are available on the website here below. And now we go to the benefits. So I give back the voice to Tian.
Yep. So just to follow on to what Isabel have just mentioned. So this is one of the activity that we do as part of the project is to support SMEs in the adoption process directly by injecting funds to potential projects that has but I mean that is able to demonstrate route to market industrialization. So one of the key things that differentiate this funding call as compared to your standard European funding call is each of the projects will be provided additional support in addition to just your normal review by the commissioner. So so once a project is being offered, you will be paired with a mentor. So the mentor have 2 roles. So one role is obviously in looking after the progress of the project, as in what a normal evaluator will do. But in addition to that, the mentor that is being paired to your project will also have the technical expertise relevant to the proposal of the project, which what it means is that the mentor will actually not only just to monitor progress, but will also be able to be there as an advisory or consultancy role to assist in any issues that you have technically when you are progressing with the project. And also in addition to that, funding box will also be providing business mentoring. At some point through the project. I think it's mostly towards the end of the project, so that it will then, enable SMEs to look at, depending on what level of development the technology there are at that stage, how are they going to exploit it, what sort of business model they should use, etc., etc. So all of this benefit, you won't it will be part of the package that the PULSATE project will provide to SMEs. And also, in addition to that, the PULSATE project will be doing a lot of media exposure and engagement activities around Europe. So any of the projects that get funded through PULSATE will also be included in those dissemination. And I think the key thing that will be critical as part of the project selection is that, we were hoping that all of these projects that got selected, especially in the first round, they will then, ended up being as a case study, for the as part of the demonstration to, to showcase what photonics, technology is capable of, to provide in terms of, manufacturing capability. So, and at the bottom of the slides there, you can see that, as I mentioned previously, out of the, 9 consortium partners, we have 6 of them that are specialized in various different technologies. So, and the table there pretty much categorized them into 4 main key areas. So we have 3 partners that have capability in high power laser-based application, 3 in micro nano fabrication, 3 in additive, and 3 in the digitization section for photonics. Next, please. So just to give you guys a little bit of, insight and also info as to, what is it that you can do and what is it that you can propose, for the, the TTE call. So because this has been a question, I believe, that has been asked quite a few times in the first webinar. So basically what I've done is that I basically listed down the potential technologies that you can do for each of the subsection. As you can see, there's a high power, laser-based applications. You can think of anything, in the laser cutting, drilling, or anything hybrid processing related. There's a polishing, cleaning, hardening. And for the micro nano, it can be anything around texturing, marking, cleaning, even coloring or micro machining. And in additive, it will be one of the 2. So you can either be selective laser melting, SLM, or powder bed fusion. There's multiple names to that. Or you can do look at, direct energy deposition or laser cladding. And in terms of digitization, so the scope is very broad, but it can cover anything from simulation, whether that is process optimization simulation or parameter optimization simulation, digital software or architecture, or even hardware. If you can justify there is a dire need for a hardware development that will assist the photonics manufacturing and sensing. But just one thing to bear in mind, that these lists are not an exhaustive. So there might be something in there that I might have missed. But I mean, as a starting point, this pretty much covers most of the the technologies that you can think of for laser processing. Next, please. So then we go into talking about what potential area of research that you can do, right? So if you look at laser-based processing, as a bigger picture, and then we break them down, this is what it will normally look like. So you start off with the core, which is the laser source. So there is obviously innovation that you can do on the laser source. Then when you go up the next level, then it's on the system level. So in there you have things related to laser beam delivery, that you can do, whether that is new optics design or whether that is a new fiber delivery, etc. Beam manipulation method. So things like, are you doing galvo, polygon, or interference patterning, or masking method, all that sort of stuff. And part manipulation, so that will be things like, are you considering CNC, or are you considering gantry, robotics, sensors? Are you doing inline sensing, or you're not, or sensing for, let's say, powers and all that sort of thing? Control system, whether you're going for what type of platform, Siemens, Omron, etc., and also CAD/CAM programming. So how do you do, complex shapes, or is your process roll to roll? So which means that you have different types of programming requirements, etc. So then if we go the next level up, so that is related to the process. In there, you will have things like, the digital side of things, which can be simulation, digital infrastructure, AI, machine learning, or there is things in the operation requirement in terms of, quality assurance, etc. So that could be things like metrology, metallurgy, any standard framework requirements. And obviously, last but not least, is on the business requirements. So things like case studies, processing costs, simplification of process, new business model due to the, the technology or specific case studies requirement, or supply chain. So all that, like I said again, it's not an exhaustive list, but it should give you some idea of, what sort of things that you want to do and you want to look at. But bear in mind, I think in the later slide, you will show that this call is concentrate on projects between TRL5 and TRL7. So some of the development might not fall into that category, depending on at the point of application, where is your progress, what is the progress of it? So if you, let's say you want to propose something on laser source, but it's a brand new laser source that we have never done anything, you only have an initial idea and concept, we don't even have a breadboard, demo, then it won't be applicable to apply for this call. So you just have to bear in mind, whatever section of this that you pick for innovation, it has to be at the right TRL level. Next, please.
Yeah, thank you, Tian. That was a very interesting insight for the technology part. And now we'll briefly pass to the eligibility, which will be also include the technological part. So I would just start from the more legal side, or, well, organizational side. So in order to apply to the experiment, as already mentioned before, there has to be 2 entities, and it's applicable, and, well, you can these entities that create the consortia have to be SMEs or slightly bigger companies. Okay, so this is important. Only these 2 legal entities can apply. And the consortium, as the role of these companies within the consortium, have to include 1 technology provider that will probably bring the innovation, and 1 manufacturing company, or as we call it, end user or adopter. Okay, so in order to experiment to exist, you have to play this, you have to have 2 SMEs or slightly bigger companies at least that will play these 2 roles. If you do not have a partner with your standalone SME or a slightly bigger company, you can or submit your expression of interest through the short online form. So it's like very brief. We try to make it simple just to get an overview of who are you looking for and try to help you through the ecosystem. Or you can directly write in the post in the matchmaking community where everyone have access. And also, if we have the critical mass of SMEs looking, we will also probably organize the webinar when you can all present your ideas and try to network to find a partner. So if you don't have a partner to apply, reach us out. And then for this SMEs and slightly bigger, if some of you is not familiar, then there are 2 main criteria. based on which this is checked, okay, this category. So one is the headcount, the people hired in your company. So, well, the bottom line is to be an SME, it has to be less than 250, and to slightly bigger, 500. So the highest line is 500 people hired. And then annual turnover, which is also the top line, is less or equal to 100 million euro. Okay, so this is something you can also check the European Commission recommendation. There's quite simple. It's a guide where you can read all the concept about the SME, but these two things are critical. And also, when checking this or thinking about your status, please also remember about the whole picture. So, I mean, if you're a subsidiary of some bigger company or you're somehow linked to bigger enterprise, sometimes it also might influence the SME or slightly bigger status. So also please remember about this. And of course, if you have any doubts, you can also write to us, and we can help you to assess this. And yes, well, of course, this is the European program, so it's dedicated to European countries and associated. Together with also UK, we got a lot of questions. So yes, United Kingdom is also eligible. And yeah, maybe I just one question for the previous slide for the consortium. I just wanted to come back because many times you're asking us if bigger companies that are not SME or slightly bigger, if they can apply also, or if they can be included somehow in this open call. So the answer is that only SMEs or slightly bigger can be included as the TTT consortium that apply, okay, to this open call. And if there is a big company or research center that would like to be involved, then they can, but only in the subcontracting category. So they can have 1 or 2 tasks delegated through subcontracting, and the maximum budget that they can get is 15% from the total amount that the experiment will get. Okay, so this is the only way to engage bigger companies, because we very much concentrate here on SMEs adoptions and support. So this is if any of you is wondering. And now I give the voice again to Tian for the technical requirements.
Yep. As part of the application process, and that also links back to the previous slide that I've just presented on where you can innovate. So as part of the application process, you will be asked to select one of the 5 experimental areas, and they are listed down here. So it can be the area of laser equipment integration, interoperability and robust automation. So that means involving anything on hardware or software development in terms of automation, and motion systems, or it can be in technology for cost-effective laser-based manufacturing. So that will mean anything related to reducing the costs of the manufacture, and that can be multiple angle. It can be you develop or you integrate cheaper source, or you have more efficient processes, or processes that are faster than the existing state-of-the-art, which leads to a reduction in costs. So all that sort of area will fit into that. And thirdly, we have the first part, right and zero defect laser-based production. So that will involve things like sensing, monitoring, inline monitoring and control type of proposals. And fourth, we have flexible technology for small to large batch. So that will involve things like multi-beam processing or multi-laser source processing or configurable laser-based processing systems type of projects. And then lastly is on from CAD to PLM, data integration and flow. So that is revolved around any proposals that is relevant to the digitization. So that can be simulation, it can be digital twin, or data-driven processing for laser-based processing. Yeah. Next, please. So yes, so like as I mentioned before, the whole idea and the whole concept of the PULSATE funding or the TTE funding is to accelerate the adoption, to assist SME in adoption, and therefore it's very critical that all applicants pay attention to the TRL level. And as I mentioned before, we only fund proposals that is between TRL 5 and 7. Well, obviously, then the question can be, should it be 5 or should it be 7? And my only advice is the higher the TRL, the better, because obviously that means that it presents confidence that the project will be able to be executed within 13 months, and we will have a probable output and results at the end of the project. So, but that doesn't mean that if you have something that is 5, we won't fund. So the main thing to do when you do your proposal is you have to be able to justify whatever that you're proposing, and the development is feasible and makes sense to complete or accomplish within 13 months. So, if you're proposing something that is too big, even though it fits within the TRL scope, we might still not fund it, because then we will see it as the likelihood of you completing the project is low. Yeah, that is the last thing that we want. So just bear in mind that when it comes to the where you want to propose your proposal, the scope, and then the scope. So try not to put the scope too big and having too many development, and concentrate your development and make it more specific. Yep. Next, please. I believe that's back to you, Isabel.
Yes, to sum up, basically, the perfect proposal or the eligible proposal, because the perfect ones, then the external evaluators will judge which has the biggest potential. But just to be eligible, so to be able to apply, you have to check these main criteria that we commented. So it's dedicated only to SMEs or slightly bigger companies that they can create the consortium. And these companies has to be established in Europe, associated, or in United Kingdom. You need to remember about the consortium composition. So you need, well, it could be more than 2 companies, but you always have to remember to have adopter, someone playing the role of adopter or manufacturing SME, as we call it as well. In your proposal, you should reflect, or at least one of experimentation areas that Tian has described, and the TRL level minimum 5. That was also, I think, very well described. So if you complete all these, then you can apply, and we invite you to do so, of course. Let's see, and then, well, we'll pass briefly through the how. So what is the process? How? It's very easy, because you just click to the apply button on the website, and then you can see actually the application form. We always advise to read to guides and documents section, because there is a guide for applicants, which is very, very important to read before you start filling out the application. It's like the basic document with all the rules, but also with the main criteria that will be evaluated. So you should really pay attention to that to write the successful proposal. And the selection process will, well, the open call will be closed on 22nd of April. We'll then do the eligibility check, so checking the country or, well, the basic information that we described in the previous slide. And then those that are eligible will pass to the main phase, which is the experts evaluation. So these are the external experts. It's not the PULSATE consortium from the industry that will evaluate the main 3 criteria that I will explain you a bit later. And based on that, the main ranking will be created that will be discussed on the consensus meeting. Okay, so these are the consortium partners that will see this external evaluation list and will decide that this is really the final one, and if those proposals are within the PULSATE scope. And those will be then invited to the jury day, which for now we know it will be online. And this will be an online event when the selected proposal will be asked to pitch or to present the experiment, and there will be a short part for the questions and answers from jury. And based on that, the finalists will be invited to sign the sub-grant agreement, and to start the support program from September. The application form, so here, as I mentioned, there are 3 parts of this form that are the most important one because they are scored. The rest is more administrative or the data processing, so the standard ones. But the excellence and impact and implementation are the ones that the external evaluators will read and will score. As I mentioned in Guide for Applicants, you can see the exact description, what they will take into account. And I have also included it on the slides here. So for the excellence, the focus is on the technology. So you should describe the innovation that includes this experiment. Also, even though there is a one choice question when you can mark TRL 5, 6 or whatever, but you should be able in the excellence section to prove that actually this technology is on this level. So, even though the system might see that you're on the TRL 5, but then the external evaluator will also always have to check if the TRL that you marked is actually relevant to what you describe in the proposal. Then, of course, you also have, in this excellence section, you have to try to reflect to the experimentation area that you decide to choose and show the state of art of your process. Okay, so these are the main aspects. The excellence is the technology description. Then in the impact section, we focus more on the scalability. So you have to show the examples. I mean, of course, you should apply with one end user or with one adopter, as we call, but if you have any other applications for this technology in different industry, you should also underline this. This is like how it will impact the market. Market potential competition, it is also important to explain that if there is any. Your initial business models, how you plan to bring this technology to the market. And the transfer between academia and industry. So if there will be any new product, any new process, do you plan to found a new company or patent your technology? This is also very well seen. And of course, there are also the typical impacts that European projects include that are also taken into account. So the environmental, the equal opportunities, and the social impact that your experiment may bring. And then the final one, implementation. This is connected to what you actually plan or what would you like to do during the support program. So you have to think on the main actions and list the tasks per stages. So as you could see on the slide about the support program, the first stage, which is the technology development, is more concentrated on technology provider. Then we have a proof of concept, which I remember it's 3 months. So that is where the end user and actually the experiment is being performed. And then the last one is scalability. Okay, so you should also try to think on how you can fit the experiment in that stages and what will be the main tasks that you would like to perform and what would you like to achieve. So the KPIs, okay, are they ambitious, and most important, are they realistic? For this period of time and the level of the technology that you have now. We always, well, this is a tip for the SMART KPI rule. It's important to try to make them measurable, so and relevant and time bound. Okay, so try to think about something realistic, and then the risks that you foresee. What do you need to perform the experiment? This is, I would say, one of the most difficult parts, okay? But I think Jan today described quite well what competences are available through the technical partners, from the competence centers, from the consortium. So, or you can check for, well, you can check again today's webinar, or also they're included in the Annex 1 of the Guide for Applicants. So try to think like what are the competences and what you will need, and describe this in this implementation form. Also in your consortium team, so who is behind the idea and the experiment, and if this team has competences to perform the experiment. And then the final one, budget. For the budget, just few inputs. You need to decide, or you need to do it per partner of the consortium. So you have to define how much of the personal costs you will need, so the people that will be engaged in the experiment, the travel costs, which, well, for now they're quite limited, but please don't forget about it. The consumables, okay, so if you need any equipment to perform the experiment, and then you sum up the 1, 2, 3, and you make the overhead, so which is 25% of the sum of the first 3 concepts. And then if you need to subcontract some tasks from your experiment, then you add it to the 0.5, remembering that it should not exceed the 50% of the sum of the first 4 concepts. Okay, that will give you the total cost that you will request, and the total cost of the experiment, and the funding will be the number 7. So it is the requested account, because the funding is the 70% rate. So you request you have to think when planning that this will be the 70% of the total costs will be funded. Okay, so this is important. If it sounds difficult or complicated, then we have prepared the example of such a budget in the frequently asked questions document. So you can go there and see the estimated budget for 150,000 funding, okay, to see more or less how it should be structured. And you should also remember about the maximums. So as I mentioned, the maximum amount, requested amount, can be 150,000. And also you have to remember about the maximum per entity. So one entity can get maximum 100,000, okay, one company. And it's in this open call, but also in all the PULSATE open calls, if you will apply to the 2nd or to the 3rd. But also you have to remember, as we are part of I4MS and Smart Anything Everywhere initiatives, the partner should not also exceed the 100,000 of funding with these initiatives. So if you were engaged in any other I4MS project, then please remember that whatever you request from PULSATE, it should not oversee 100,000 in total. So this is also for the limits. And yeah, if you need help, we have the help desk email. We have also the community where you can ask your questions. We have the guide for applicants and frequently asked questions. So there are many sources when you can need help, and just let us know if you have any doubts. And you can join our webinars. Well, today was the 2nd main one. We'll of course send the presentation and the video after all. But there will be also the last one on 12th of April with the final tips. So if you have any questions, you can join and ask them there. Maybe we'll organize also the matchmaking webinar. This is to be planned. And we'll participate in an industry week. So we also invite you to join that session organized by our Lithuanian partner, together with Photon Hub and with the Polish institution. So you're all welcome to register and to join us. And I believe we reached the Q&A. We are still on time, right? 15 minutes. And I think Marta will launch now a very short survey that you can apply in the meanwhile of asking us questions that were written in the chat. So Marta, are there any questions from the audience?
I am not collecting the poll responses, but it seems that there are not any questions in the chat. I don't know if anyone wants to ask something last minute. and take advantage that we have our experts here today. It seems like everyone was
Yes,
very, everything was really clear.
Yeah,
Yes.
that means that we did a good job today.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay. Well, then if there are no questions, I mean, or if any question comes up after the webinar, you can just write down us an email, or you can.
Isabella, sorry, we have a question here. Yeah, it's much more of a comment. Very unclear about the roles of the PULSATE technical partners.
Okay, but the technical partners, you mean the competence centers?
Yeah, I think it's referring to that. Yeah. So I think just to clarify, so the open call is only one of the many activities that we are doing for the project. So in this particular activity, which is the funding call, the role of the technical partners, as I mentioned previously during the presentation, they are there as to provide two things. So one is obviously as you know, a reviewer, or like what the normal, you know, European project does, is you'll have a monitoring officer, and they're there to, you know, look at the progress, you know, check your spend and all that sort of thing. So that is one role. And the other role, which is addition to that, is there to provide you technical support, and also as a consultation. But bear in mind is they are not there to execute your project. So the execution of the project is still sits within the consortium. So all they're there is to provide, you know, technical expertise, you know, suggestions or help that you might need, but not to run experiment, not to give you access to equipment, so that sort of thing. You know, all that sort of stuff should come with your proposal. Hence, in your proposal, on the proposal bit in terms of consortium, Isabella has mentioned that you need to have, you know, two partners, where one is a technology provider, which then will give you the technology that you need, and the other one is the end user, which will then apply the technology. So in that instances, I don't think you will need you shouldn't be needing equipment access, you know, from the core technology partner. But that doesn't mean that you cannot ask for it. But you know, that is something that you can obviously discuss, you know, with the mentors that is assigned to you, because as I mentioned before, the mentors that has been assigned to projects have the technical background, and the center will also have the technical capability in that specific, you know, laser manufacturing process that the project proposed. But as I said, you know, they are not in any way obliged to, you know, supply access equipment access as part of the project. But I mean, those things can be discussed. I mean, if they're happy to, you know, assist or help in any other format, etc., then yeah, that is up to individual RTOs to decide. So I hope that is clear. And also because as part of the project, we're also doing, you know, other training activities, you know, webinars, and also other outreach where we will open up facilities and infrastructures at you know, all of these different competency centers for SMEs to come in and to do some trials and all that sort of thing. So there will be more activity to come. So this is only the very first one that we're doing, and because the project's only just started September last year, so we will be rolling out more as we hit the 1 year mark of the project. So I would say, if you want to know what other you know, offerings or opportunities that, you know, is available to PULSATE, I would say please follow the you know, the linking page, the website, when we roll up the website, so that you can get the latest information and engage with us.
Okay, we have also, well, the person asking the question is thanking you, and yeah, we have Romualda's saying thank you very much for providing this useful information, and see you on the 23rd in Vilnius. See you there. And we have also another question. Hello all, thank you for the explanation. I was wondering if the end user is the project coordinator, how do you see the market strategy? I mean, will it need to be related to the tech supplier, or it can be also related to the product that the end user will manufacture with this new technology?
I can take this. I mean, I don't think there is a rule as to who should be the leading part. You know, for the project, it's up to the consortium to decide. In terms of the business case, I think for me is that obviously if it's an end user that is leading the project, right? Because it is a photonic or laser-based manufacturing, emphasis, call. It doesn't make sense for the end user ended up doing a business case that doesn't use the technology, if you understand what I mean. So if you come in, if you propose something, it has to be this. And okay, and I can understand that, there will be a risk of, maybe the process doesn't work, the technology doesn't work. This is where the TRL thing comes in, right? So you have to propose something that you have already done some initial study, that you have certain confidence that the technology will work. And that will be accessed, in the evaluation process, right? If you are unable to prove to us that, you have a certain level of confidence, and when I say certain level of confidence, I'm hoping it's more than 50 or 60%, the higher the better, obviously, that it will work, and all you need is to tweak and to do some further, development in terms of whether to do the testing in real test environment, or to do on component processing and testing, that sort of thing. That those will be the right, like the nice candidate project for this sort of call. So I would say have a think, and I don't think it really matters, whether it's the tech providers leading or the end user is leading. And the business case, I would say, you can do it on, you can do two business case from two different perspectives, or you can do one business case and encapsulate one. The whole idea is that the money is there for that sort of activity, and is the company, you guys, that is applying. How do you best utilize that money? So whatever you do, don't treat it as a tick box exercise. I mean, it's not to say because we ask you to do a business case, but then you have to think, what form of the business case is most beneficial to my company? Because at the end, all the benefit goes to you, and this is the whole point, is we want you to utilize the money in the best possible way that you can to help your business. Right, it's not for the EU commissioner. You submit a shit report, or a very nice report, or a very bad report, it doesn't really affect much. But then, what is the value of the report to your business? I think that you'll have to evaluate. So it's up to individual projects whether they want to do one for the tech, one for the end users, or they want to do one big one that encapsulate how the route to market for that. That is entirely, it's up to also the business model that you want to use to make this case work, or do you want to take that opportunity to say, right, we know that this will work, there's already enough business case, but we want to expand the business case, so can we use that money to do the business report to say, how do we go into other sectors? And there's multiple facets and directions that you can use the money for. So I would say use it wisely. Yeah,
I think here what's just to summarize, because also the leading or the coordinator of the experiment, the function is that, of course, you'll be the main contact person, and you'll be like the leading the consortium, but it does not mean that the later business model has to be yours, so you can, for instance, I think you can include how the business model will include the adopter business, but then the technology provider can patent it. So you can describe both things in the business model section, that it will, you know, influence the business model of the adopter in that way, but the technology adopter, based on this, will be able to move it forward, for instance. So don't be shy to like focus only on one and on this experiment, but you can tell something beyond how it will affect both sides. So yeah, I believe we covered this question, I hope.
Okay, the person is thanking you as well. Now it's very clear, and I think we don't have any other questions, do we?
Okay.
Nope.
Well, then I guess the thank you slide is the correct one. So thank you very much for your attention to all attendees, and thank you, Tian, for your inputs from the technological side and for your time.
No problem. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.